What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of viewer-submitted clone builds. Be sure to check out the link in the description for a playlist of all the previous episodes in the series. Last week, I asked my followers on Instagram to send me their clones, along with a parts list and some basic info about their builds. This episode has a twist, though, since I specifically asked for inspired clone builds. For those unfamiliar with this term, I've defined an inspired clone build as one that uses correct components, but has an intentional change that makes the rifle both unique and interesting. I decided to do this episode because I think there's a misconception on here that I don't like inspired clones, but it's actually the opposite. I do like the creativity that goes into these builds, so long as there's actually some kind of theme for them, and not just using incorrect parts due to laziness and or impatience. So no, your Mark 18 with the wrong barrel length and a Burris optic doesn't count. If you don't get what I mean yet by there being a theme to each build, then don't sweat it because I think you'll soon understand. Lastly, if you guys want this series to continue, then let me know by liking and commenting on this video, as well as subscribing to the channel. And one last quick note before we get into this episode's submissions, it's that time of year again. It's time to register for Clone Rifle Shoot 2025 taking place at Southington Hunt Club in Garrettsville, Ohio on October 18th and 19th. Come join us for a weekend full of clones, prizes, rental machine guns, and even a night vision shoot. This year is shaping up to be the biggest one yet, with sponsors such as Allen Engineering, Ohio Ordnance, and Space Magic Industries, among others. I'll leave a link in the description where you can register, so be sure to leave a comment down below if you're planning to attend, and I will see you all there. Our first submission for this episode portrays exactly what I had in mind for this episode. This miniaturized NSW Recce rifle was sent in by @subpar28 and features a build list composed entirely of shortened or more compact versions of your typical Recce components. For reference, he's included a picture of his standard NSW Recce build, just so you can see how drastic the size difference is, while still retaining the overall aesthetic of the original rifle. For his build, the owner starts with a Geisley 5.56 cold hammer forged barrel, which was chopped down to around 10.6 inches and paired with an Allegheny Arms tapered gas block. This barrel length was necessary to achieve the flush look between the Knights Armament medium free float RAS and the Allen Engineering AEM3 suppressor. Although the medium-length handguard was already shorter than the long free-float ras used on the original rifle, an additional 2 inches was chopped off by @TactaBlue83 on Instagram to complete the look. The furniture set consists of a chopped-down A2 pistol grip and an LMT PDW stock. Finally, a Nightforce 1x4x24 was mounted in conjunction with a Baldknobber Arms Repro J-point mount, meaning that even the optic is an abbreviated version of the original. Other notable components include the PAC-4C laser and a PRI gasbuster charging handle. This next submission comes from @thedtw on Instagram and is a great example of what I like to call a what-if build. While at first glance this looks like a run-of-the-mill CQBR, the handguard is an absurdly rare Daniel Defense 7-inch carbine-length RIS-2. While the 9.5-inch RIS-2 is very common, the owner states that this 7-inch version of the rail is one of only 2 complete engineering prototypes made by Daniel Defense, which were originally intended to be submitted for the M4 Product Improvement Program, meaning that it's so rare nobody seems to even know this handguard exists. Although this rail system was never adopted, it's fun to think about what service rifles might have looked like had these gone into full production. The build list is on the screen, and while it's true that this handguard may have made more sense on a 14.5-inch M4, the owner states that he is a 10.3-inch guy at heart, and he has my thanks for sending it in. Our third submission is what I believe to be the most common theme for an inspired build, and that is a clone rifle that's chambered in a non-traditional caliber. In this case, it's a Mark 12 Mod 0 chambered in 6mm ARC, sent in by @CaptainDusky. For those unfamiliar with this cartridge, the 6mm ARC is designed as a low recoil, long range round that is both highly accurate and still able to fit in a standard AR-15 small frame rifle, meaning only a new barrel, bolt, and magazine are required for it to work. To prove everyone that he made the right choice with this caliber, the owner has included an impressive 10-shot group with his submission, which in my experience is par for the course for this caliber. The parts list is on screen, with notable components including a Craddock Precision 18-inch SPR barrel, of course chambered in 6 arc, a PRI carbon fiber handguard, along with the appropriate front sight gas block, and an Allen Engineering AEM5 30K, which retains the size and proportions of the original Mark 12 suppressor while being compatible with the new caliber. Our fourth submission is a double feature from @Kong Manufacturing, whose first build is another miniaturized rifle, though this build is a smaller version of a rifle that is already considered compact. This mini Car 15 was custom fabricated using a cut-down Car 15 stock, a custom-cut A2 handguard, and a CAC Industries mini mil-spec buffer tube. The 7.5-inch pistol-length barrel is from Ballistic Advantage, and most notably this build features a post-sample lower receiver, as if this gun wasn't loud enough already. He also included a photo of this rifle next to a standard Car 15 build, just so you can see how absurdly compact it is even compared to another SBR. The parts list is on screen now, and the owner states that he'll have it out at this year's clone rifle shoot for anyone who wants to give it a try. Kong Manufacturing's second submission is a what if build, answering the question of what would a modern EOD Mark 18 look like? Side note, I featured his clone of the original EOD Mark 18 in a previous episode. He playfully refers to this new build as a Space Force EOD Mark 18, and when put side by side with its predecessor, you can see exactly why, since all of the major build components are updated counterparts of the originals. The most obvious change is that the original Voltor CAS-V handguard has been replaced by the current M-LOK version of the CAS-V. The Magpul M93 stock and Myad pistol grip have been replaced with modern equivalent Magpul UBR and K2 grip, and the old EOTech 552 has been updated to an XPS series optic. Finally, the rifle was finished with a multicam black Cerakote job to really drive home the concept that this is a modernized version of the build. This next submission comes from @JLCerna1125 on Instagram, and is an example of a rifle that is both miniaturized and chambered in a non-standard caliber. This mini Mark 12 Mod Holland was assembled from leftover parts after upgrading another Mod Holland build with more correct components, though the choice was made to chamber this one in 300 Blackout. The owner of this rifle was kind enough to provide video evidence of just how quiet this build can be when paired with his Allen Engineering AEM 530. The owner states that when he first put this rifle together, there was a lot of noise coming from the action cycling, but after upgrading to an H3 buffer, it has since been tamed. The parts list is on screen, with notable components including the PRI carbon fiber handguard, an Otter Creek Labs flash hider, and an Allegheny Arms tapered gas block. This next submission comes from Garrett S. and is our first U.S. Coast Guard clone of the entire series. Garrett's build was inspired by the 499 Leitner Wise prototype rifles tested in the early 2000s by the Coast Guard, though he has made the very understandable choice to chamber it instead in 458 SOCOM due to the availability of the ammunition. The owner states that he got the idea to assemble this build after watching a video covering the 499 rifles from Small Arms Solutions, and was fortunate enough to already have a Brownells 458 barrel on hand. He states that his build is mostly true to what the Gen 2 prototypes would have looked like before the project was scrapped by the Coast Guard. The parts list is on screen, and it's worth mentioning that the original rifles lacked any iron sights, so the optic choice was inspired by the Hytron team's 50 caliber rifles, which also use EOTech sights in order to shoot outboard motors during drug interdiction missions. Needless to say, this is a clone build that you simply don't see every day. Our seventh submission comes from user Medazaslammed on AR15.com and is what you could call a theoretical clone build, being made up of parts that were circulating within USOCOM at the same time during the late 1990s, but were never actually seen together on one rifle, until now. Starting with a base model Colt M4A1 build, the owner chose to add several period-correct parts including an early Vero Beach Riz handguard, an arms number 38 extended swan sleeve, and a Bushnell hollow sight. Even knowing this rifle never existed in this form at the time, I have a feeling it would fit right in if it were carried by Tu Lam during his days as a Green Beret prior to founding Rodin Tactics, who you should check out on Instagram. Our final submission for this episode comes from yours truly, and is a clone of the Sig Sauer LVAW chambered in 22 LR. I refer to this build as my 22 trainer rifle, as it's much cheaper to shoot than my 300 blackout version. I'll get into the build list in just a second, but I want to really quickly shamelessly plug my company, Space Magic Industries, as we've teamed up with Shadow Strategic to manufacture a faithful replica of the original LVAW handguard, which will hopefully replace the one currently on my rifle very soon. Check us out on Instagram @Space Magic Industries for more information on how you can get your hands on this or any of our other future clone products. Getting into the build list, I have to shout out the folks at Illumined Arms who made this project possible with their MCX22 conversion kit, which allows a standard CMMG Bravo kit to be used in any 5.56 MCX rifle. This was just the first hurdle to this project, though, as a custom thread adapter had to be made to allow the attachment of a suppressor, which SIG did not intend for users to be able to accomplish on the 5.56 Rattler. Once this was done, I was able to make a Form 1 suppressor that very closely resembles one of the 300 blackout cans used on the original LVAW rifles in CAG's inventory. Overall, I'm extremely happy with this one-of-a-kind project, as I've somehow managed to make this platform even more quiet than its original. After seeing all these cool clone builds, do me a favor and tell me which one was your favorite down in the comments below. Did any of these inspire you to start your next project, or make changes to already completed builds? Let me know if you want to see more of this series, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.